Okay, part two of our exploration of the causes of the Cold War and whether it was mistrust or not. So, second category I have is the fear of expansion. There was a fear that the Soviet Union was going to expand, and the United States needed to kind of stop that expansion. I've kind of alluded to that over here with the Marshall Plan and with Germany a little bit, but these three really kind of explain why or how the Soviet Union was threatening to expand. So NATO was established, which is the first official U.S. military alliance really ever. And this goes against George Washington's farewell address. If you remember, he advised against foreign alliances. So this is established among Western European countries, the United States and Canada, and it is set up to basically protect Western Europe from invasion from the east, from the Soviet Union, because the Soviet Union has maintained control of Eastern Europe. And so this military alliance is for mutual protection. So if an attack on one is an attack on all. A second area where we saw the fear of expansion was in the Truman Doctrine. So Greece and Turkey had these kind of revolutions going on that were communist supported. And so Harry Truman announces that the United States will support democracy wherever it is. And they give $400 million in aid to Greece and Turkey to prevent those two countries from falling to communism. So again, this is preventing the expansion of the Soviet Union. And out of this comes the containment policy, the idea that you would want to contain the Soviet Union so that it doesn't expand. There's a man named George Kennan who writes called The Long Telegram, in which he basically argues that the Soviet Union is looking to expand and that the United States should meet them with force where necessary, should resist any kind of Soviet expansion. Our last category is mistrust. Neither side quite trusts each other. This dates back to the race for the atomic weapons. When the United States dropped the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they were demonstrating not just to Japan that they could win the war, but also to the Soviet Union. They were powerful. And the Soviet Union was looking to develop an atomic weapon as well. And they actually do develop one in 1949, I think. So the arms race between the Soviet Union and the United States over nuclear weapons is something that occurs because neither side quite trusts each other with these weapons, so they think they have to have their own as well. Also, in Eastern Europe, Stalin at Yalta promised to hold democratic elections in Eastern Europe, which never really happens. The Soviets kind of hold these sort of fake elections in which all the communist candidates magically win in Eastern Europe. And so the United States and Britain realize that Stalin is looking to control Eastern Europe as like a buffer zone so that, Germany or the United States or whoever can't invade the Soviet Union through Eastern Europe. They have to get through all these satellite nations first. And then also they have different views on German recovery. The Soviet Union would like, as I kind of mentioned up here, the Soviet Union would like to keep Germany divided and weaker so that the Soviet Union can have more influence and also keep Germany weaker so that they don't represent a threat to the Soviet Union. Whereas the United States, they want to see a strong Germany emerge so that it can kind of counterbalance some of the influence and weight that the Soviet Union is having in Eastern Europe at the end of the war. Okay, so you can debate about which of these is the most important category and how much the Cold War began as a result of mistrust between the U.S. and the Soviet Union.